Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video on Lumber Capital Backyard. Eastern hemlock. Why is it such a popular building material here in Pennsylvania? Let's find out. Depending on where you're from, you either know Eastern hemlock as a good building material or you have no idea. We have customers come in who know hemlock and want it. That's why they come to us. But we also have customers who come for pine and are like, wait, hemlock's an option? What is hemlock and why would I want to use it over pine? So that's when we drop the information bomb on them. By the way, hemlock is great for building. And so if you're from the West, you hear hemlock and you think of the poisonous stuff. Everyone's like, you mean the poisonous stuff, the stuff that killed Socrates? No, not that hemlock. Eastern hemlock is a conifer. It has a needle, not the kind of needle that a pine does. It's not a long needle, it's a short one. But it's a needle tree, and they get very, very tall. And I'll show you some beams here in a little bit. Later on in the video, I'll show you some extremely long hand-hewn beams that were probably from the virgin forest back 100 years ago or more. So stay tuned for that. But right now, we're going to cut a few of these logs. It is really coming down out here. Man, we've had an inch just this morning, but let's roll this sucker on and start cutting some Eastern hemlock, and then later on, we'll get to some good stuff. Hey guys, and welcome to our 144-year-old barn. I wanted to show you this very badly because everything that you see here is 100% hemlock. One beam in particular I really want you guys to see, so come on in. These are all hand-hewn beams, but this beam is just absolutely incredible. There's two of them actually. They both run from one end of the barn all the way to the other. If you see it here, this is one whole tree. And I mean, your guess is as good as mine as to how long it is. Actually, let me know down in the comments your guess as to how long this beam is. It's absolutely incredible to think that you know, over 100 years ago, they were able to cut that down and to get it up there. I mean, how on earth would they get something like that up there even? It must have been harvested on this property or at least close by, because, I mean, how else would you have gotten something that long, very far at all? But absolutely amazing that they were able to do that. And just to think about that beam actually standing straight up, imagining that as a hemlock tree. Hemlock does get very tall, it can, but imagine how big around it must have been. Just imagine how big that tree would have been. I mean, it's down to like a 10 by 10, maybe a 12 by 12. It might be more like a 12 by 12, but with little taper. I mean, it's a 12 by 12 at that end, all the way to that end. So that means, you know how a tree tapers off. So it must have been absolutely huge to have no taper from one end to the other. So yeah, that I really wanted to show you. There's another one also on that side as well. Those are by far the longest beams in here, even though they're not the only long beams. I mean, this beam, like right here, is quite long, quite long, but nothing like that one. This barn is absolutely beautiful, and it's still standing in fairly good shape, you know, 144 years old, years later. The siding on it is also hemlock. We'll go out there to show you that. We're gonna need some new siding here pretty soon, but it lasted over a lifetime. So what more can you really expect out of wood with no kind of preservative on it at all? Let's go head on back out there and take a look at that. Getting a look at the other side of the barn here, you see that some of the siding is going to be needing to be replaced here fairly shortly, but this is what's known as lap siding, and it's actually something that we can mill at the log yard for customers who want it, and we actually have a lap cider for it. It's a special machine. This is very thin siding. It's less than an inch. It was perhaps 3/4 when they put it on here, but I mean, after so long, you know, it's shrunken down, and it's got to be very thin at this point. Got to be less than maybe a 1/2 inch. It's hard to say, but yeah, that is lap siding. So it tapers and then it's lapped like that, and it's definitely been disintegrating. But I mean, it lasted for so long. And the thing about wood siding is it can be replaced a lot easier than vinyl or whatever plastic that they put on stuff now. And so we have a sawmill. All we have to do is mill up more lap siding and slap it on there, and it's a lot easier than anything else, really. So this is a huge barn. It's very huge. So that it'd take a lot of lumber to reside it. But for those of you who need to reside a 100-year-old barn, we can mill you up the siding. We can definitely do that. We'll eventually get around to residing this thing, but for now, it's actually just fine how it is. So we haven't been in any rush to do so. The roof of this barn, I guess, was blown off in some kind of tornado before we bought it. So they actually replaced the roof with a metal roof. It was originally slate, as you can imagine. So the roof is in good shape because metal roofs are great. The slate would have been really cool, but at the same time, not as easy to replace as wood siding, I can tell you that. But if you just want to walk around and see the other side here, it's very beautiful. I'm not a fan of the red, but that's a classic barn. Classic barn. So that's it. That's our barn for you. I hope that you enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't yet. Other than that, we'll see you back here next time. Bye.